The bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast.
All right, so episode 147 tonight. Andrew Jacobs from the Borscht Museum will be joining us a little bit later on. But we have a lot to go through, a lot, and it's going to mostly be about one topic.
Like 3 hours worth.
It's going to feel like that, isn't it?
We're going to set a new record tonight, 3 hours.
It feels like it because of what's going on, because of the craziness that we've had in the Catskills, and then like the southern part of the Catskills and such. It definitely will feel like that. So one thing I want to do, Tad, though, is 2 apologies. I'd like to apologize to the DEC. A big thing is it's not the DEC's fault that things aren't getting done around the Catskills and around areas. It's the state's fault because of passing through so many hoops to get through this done. It's not getting in. So I'm not blaming them. We're not bashing the DEC all this time. It's the state. The state is really messing things up. But the DEC, thank you for all that you do. But, I've had people reach out to me about, the kiosk on Giant Ledge and what's going to happen and stuff. So I decided to do an email to 20 different people of the DEC, New York, New Jersey Trail Conference and stuff like that, and reach out to see if we could do something, donate some money, get that thing done that's 200 yards away from the trailhead. Either that, or we can just go up there and rip that stuff out and stop making it look like such a horrible mess and just do that during the nighttime. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I'm ready to move on from the kiosk at Panther. I haven't been through there in quite a while. I feel bad that it's down, but the DEC is certainly what was up until recently had been doing a lot of work improving our trails and other things in the Catskills, and then along comes the fire or fires, and that certainly has rearranged their priorities. So,
of course,
they're,
definitely,
they're entitled to a little slack, and I'm sure that if they ask for 100,000, the state probably gives them 50. So they're in a constant battle of economic triage in terms of fixing what they can with the money they have. And I'll also say, while we're talking about what the DEC has money for and doesn't have, I'm very eager to get over to Lockwood Gap and hike the Blacks and check out that trail rerouting.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk about that later. That's definitely on the list. But that looks fantastic. So once again, DEC, thank you for all that you do. It's a state, of course, that's like jumping through hoops and stuff to get stuff done. But you know what? Reach out to people about the kiosk, and we can maybe get something going about that and certain other things. Maybe we can get like a power force going. But also, I want to apologize to Lisa, aka Chaotic Quixotic, because apparently I misaddressed her tagging in us the last week on Instagram, and I kept saying he, and I feel like a dick. I'm so sorry, Lisa.
Damn, man, that's awful.
That's awful. I didn't do my research.
Yeah, well, we'll have to fire a few of our research assistants. It seems like they've been dropping the ball recently. So if you want to apply to be one of our research assistants, it's a high-paying position. You need to have great research skills and be able to work on a moment's notice to make us look and sound good.
Yeah. So once again, apologies to Lisa. Thank you for tagging us in the podcast. Congratulations on your Devil in the Day. I haven't done that yet. I really look forward to doing that sometime when my knees aren't dead, which is never. I'll die, man. Do you think I could do it?
Yes, absolutely. I think that you are anywhere from 6 months to a year away from doing the devil in a day. If you put your heart and mind to it and you train and you do that which is necessary to get you in shape to do it. I don't think you have to be in tremendous shape to do the devil in a day, but you have to be in really, really good shape. And if you need a lift from one end to the other to make it happen, you can count on me, because I'd really, really like to be there to pick you up at the end of the devil in a day to bust your chops while I suck down an ice cold cider and watch you suffer.
You'd be like, sorry, I'm drunk. You got to drive home.
Yeah. I'll start like pulling away slowly in the car and make you run after it as I drive away, slurping a cider or two.
Oh, hey, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Not that I would drink and drive.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Don't drink and drive.
Just joking around here.
All right. So let's get on to basically, I wouldn't say the guest of the night, but the hot topic of the night, forest fires. What the hell is going on? We have two big forest fires going on. As of now, the White House fire down the Sundown area near Peekamoose is getting contained, 95% contained, but the Jennings Creek fire down at Greenwood Lake in the southern part of the Catskills is now still growing. Largest fire in New York in 16 years. National Guard has been deployed, forest rangers, volunteer firefighters. As of this recording, which is Tuesday, November 12th, only 20% has been contained, and it doesn't seem like it's letting up. An 18-year-old state parks employee died in the fire, so sorry about that. Rest in peace. Just so much stuff going on around with this forest fires and the craziness of, I don't know if to call it, not to trigger people, but climate change, what's happening. This, I haven't, in my 40 years of living in upstate New York, I can't remember hearing about forest fires at this big of size, I would say. And I have, reached out to people that have been hiking in the Catskills since the 1960s, 70s. And they said they haven't seen something like this or heard of something like this. And one of the guys I talked to, he is a listener of the show. I think I met him through the 3500 Club, Tony Versandi. I met him on Slide, and he seems to be around Oneonta once in a while. And I asked him, like, listen, you've been hiking in this stuff since the 70s and stuff. Do you ever remember something like this? He's like, not at all. He goes, I can't say that, we didn't have the people would say social media is to cause, all the knowledge and stuff like that. But, we were a tight community of small people when he lived down in Phoenicia and Shandaken. And he goes, I don't remember hearing something of this large of scale happening. It would be a small brush fire that would be, 10, 20, 30 acres that would be put out in a matter of, 8 hours. And with 20 volunteer firefighters, not 200 volunteer firefighters and such. So just craziness. The good thing is, Tad, I would say that most of this forest fire is just the forest floor and not the trees. I don't know if a lot of people notice that with the pictures. This is not like out west where everything is lighting up and igniting, but it's mostly, I would say, 98% of the forest floor. Would you agree?
I haven't studied the photos that closely, and I'm not sure that the photos I have seen are a representative sample of the area impacted. But hiking up in the Cats the past 3 weekends, it almost seemed inevitable. I've never hiked along in the Catskills where the leaves were all dried and curled up the way they've been. Normally, they've been rained on quite a few times in the fall, and they just get saturated and then matted down and flat, and it would seem harder for the air to get underneath them and get a fire going. But this year, man, they've been, just dry, curled up, and flying around with the wind. And who knows what caused this fire? Hopefully it wasn't one of our own up there doing something that ignited it, but it's a sad state of affairs on the one hand, but on the other hand, forest fires are kind of the natural progression or evolution of a forested area. Gets rid of some of the other undergrowth and, cleans out the forest area. So we'll see what it looks like afterwards. I'm kind of excited to hike over there, whether it be later this year or in the spring.
Yeah. So the White House fire over in the Sundown area is burned near 600 acres. 3 structures, but not homes. A lot of people did that like false information. Of course, there was 3 structures that were burnt down. They weren't homes. They were old, like homesteads, barns, stuff like that. Nothing that really had any people in it. Over 200 firefighters, aviation assistants from the DEP and the state troopers. And as of tonight, as of this recording, 95% has been contained. And this has been the largest wildfire in the Catskill watershed since the records began in 1976. Just a lot of crazy stuff. If you don't know where this is, if you know where the Bengal Hill long path goes through right across from the long path of the Piccamoose area, that is the mountain that it's somewhat been burning on. I do not know. I'm pretty sure I heard that the Bengal Hill Trail, the long path trail, kind of was like a fire line for it, and it kind of stopped the jump going over to there, but I could be wrong. I don't know the exact spots of where it was, but I do know it was in that general area of Bengal Ridge or Bengal Hill and stuff like that. Do you want me to go over the stats, or do you want to do this that you put up? You put up all this work. Well,
I don't know how much work it was. Just a couple flicks and clicks on Google. So it, as you pointed out, it's 95% contained as of this afternoon. The DEC was in charge of coordinating the response. 20 different fire companies were involved. The equipment used include fire engines, brush trucks, tankers, bulldozers, and UTVs. The New York State DEP or New York City DEP Aviation and New York State Police Aviation provided support bucket drops using helicopters. I know Danny Davis and I, when we were out Saturday morning, early before 9 o'clock, a helicopter flew overhead where we were in the plateau area, and it was headed south towards the Bengal Hill, Piccamoose area. So one of the interesting stats, as you note here, Stosh, is that from 2007 to 2023, the New York State had an average of 117 wildfires per year, with an average of 1,400 acres burned per year. The wildfire in the Jennings Creek Sterling Forest area by Greenwood Lake supersedes the amount of acreage burned in wildfires in 14 of the 17 years of this data. In 2008, the Overlook fire in the town of Rochester, Ulster County, burnt a total of 2,855 acres, and this fire in Greenwood Lake is how many acres again, Stosh? Do you remember that stat?
2,500 in New York and 2,500 in New Jersey. So a total of 5,000.
Yeah, 5,000 acres. So that's like twice the size of the most recent largest fire of 2,800 acres. However, the largest brush fire to occur in the state of New York was the Adirondack Fire of 1903, which lasted for a whopping 6 weeks and burned a total area of 600,000 acres. So
that's
huge. That's huge.
That is 600,000. That is half of the acreage of the Adirondack Park.
Yeah, I'm sure it left a lasting impression on the forestry in the park, but that's amazing.
Absolutely.
But back then, they didn't have the instruments available to fight forest fires like they have today. I doubt they had many bulldozers available to them. They certainly did. Yeah, they certainly didn't have helicopters available to haul in water, and UTVs were not even a figment of somebody's imagination at the time.
Our fire towers weren't even up then.
Yeah. Yeah. That was back when, even communication, what were they using? Telegraphs back then. So
Exactly.
they've come a long way. And certainly it's not something that we seem to deal with every year in the Catskills. I don't remember the last time there was a sizable forest fire in the Catskills. So what's happening now is certainly unusual.
Yeah. And, luckily, if you look at the pictures, I said before that it's mostly the undergrowth, the leaves and stuff like that is burning and not the trees. So if you compare this to like out west is absolutely crazy insane. They usually have like a minimal of like 4,000 acres that get burned just because of the trees catch on fire and the undergrowth. And it's just the winds are a steady 30 miles per hour. Everything gets blown and destroyed. Where here, it's just mostly the undergrowth. We have somewhat healthy trees in these areas. The Sundown area, I know, suffers from the woolly algid and stuff like that, but it's not a lot of those ash trees out there that are being burned. It's all the undergrowth that I see being burned, and who knows what this brings to our forests and stuff like that. Like, will those trees survive? I would say yes, because they did a great job. It burned quickly, it burned fast, and they did a great job of putting it out. With the Sterling area, I'm not sure of how that's going to be handled. I know they're attacking that pretty aggressively, and it's tough, and they're having a tough time. Of course, I mean it's a lot of work. With the fire we had up in the Peekamoose area, it kind of just it happened and it grew, and they attacked it. We got a good rain a couple nights ago that was really good and helped out over there. And I've seen a lot of pictures. If you just search White House fire up on your Facebook, if you have a Facebook, they'll show a lot of pictures from local people who work there, and they've done great with those fire lines. And like you said, there were, Tad, you said there was bulldozers and such. I'm guessing they also took like ATVs and dragged plows to build up fire lines and stuff. If you ever seen what they do for this, it's pretty aggressive and pretty cool to see what they do, because they do all that they can to stop. It's not just water. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, last significant fire we had over here in the Gunks was in 2022, as I recall. And Danny Davis and I, about 4 months or 6 months after that fire, we actually hiked along the fire line that the firefighters had put in using a couple bulldozers. And you talk about a path of destruction that they did putting in that fire line. They just literally just plow over everything and push it to one side to create a gap for the fire to not jump over. And it's going to take quite a while for that area to revegetate and reforest again. So it'll be interesting to see what they did with these bulldozers on Bengal Hill.
Yeah. What are you saying when you saw that? Were you disturbed by it? Were you like okay with it because of what they did, or you should have just let it do its thing?
Well, it's the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
You walk through there, and it is quite disturbing to see how much destruction that they do with these bulldozers, just literally just plowing, a 15 to 20 foot wide road, for lack of a better term, along the side of the mountain. And, they just push all the trees, the stump, the ground cover over to one side. It's very erosive. There's, no water bars or anything like that are put in when they're doing this. They're just going in on an emergent basis. But you realize if they don't take some measure like that, then the fire is just going to continue to spread, and it's going to burn up a greater area. I forget how long it took them to put that fire out, but it was a sizable fire, and there was a lot of activity over there for quite a few days.
Do you mind me asking where that was? I don't remember.
Yeah, sure. It was just right off of Berm Road, heading west to east, going up I'm going to call it the backside or the western slope of the gunks, and that part of the gunks,
Oh yeah.
the rock is lifted up with the lower point of the rock in the west, and then the plates or slabs of rock are angled upward to the east in that area. And that's what they just ran the bulldozers up, was along that run. So
yeah. So it's just crazy to think, like you said with your stats that you pointed out, that this from 2007 to 2023, 117 wildfires per year, an average of 1,400 acres burned year. Now, if you just take the New York thing, within the last 3 days, we've burned over 3,000 acres, 2,500 plus the 600. It's over 3,100 acres. So that surpasses that in the past, like you said, 14 of the 17 years. It's just crazy to think. And it's, once again, this is a controversial topic of, is this climate change? Is this just a normal thing that happens once in a great while? Who the hell knows? There's so many different variables that you can.
Yeah. Well, so just two things to note here. If you have an average of 117 fires per year, burning 1,400 acres, 12 acres per fire. So those fires aren't all that big. Here we have a fire in the Greenland Lake area, 3,000 acres plus the acreage in Jersey, you're up to 5,000. So that puts it in perspective. But the other thing we haven't mentioned so far that goes hand in hand with the conditions that brought about the fire is we haven't had a lot of rain for quite a while, going back to August. And so when you drive past the Ashokan Reservoir, when you drive back past the Roundout Reservoir, they're low. They're very low. And those are the two collection reservoirs for the Catskill watershed system and for the Delaware watershed system. So you wouldn't expect them to be so low. So the city of New York is put out a notice for water conservation measures because of these drought conditions. I've noticed it the last 3 weeks. Actually, I'm going to say the last 4 weeks. 3 of those weeks, I've basically hiked up dried up stream or riverbeds in the Catskills. I mean, almost bone dry. In many instances, there's just some small pools of water here and there, but otherwise, there's no flowing water in these streams.
Wow.
There's nothing inflowing to the reservoirs. So not only for the sake of diminishing the likelihood of a forest fire, but for the sake of filling up the reservoirs with drinking water, we need some rain.
Yeah. And
maybe we'll get it in the form of snow. Get some snow. Get some early snowshoeing in.
I got snow here today in Oneonta, by the way. I got some snow showers. Very little, but it was pretty cool to see. Did you also know that with the Pikamoose, the White House fire, that they could not take water from the reservoir?
It doesn't surprise me because the reservoir is low, and everything upstream in the system is low as well. I mean, they are concerned about the water levels in these reservoirs, and I'm sure that the DEP and the other people involved for the city of New York have a lot of data and run a lot of calculations and have their probabilities down and all of that. But when I drove over the Ashokan Saturday morning, I've never seen it that low. I mean, you see, dirt islands out in the reservoir now, which means it's close to the bottom.
Wow. Just thinking about that. Yeah. We drove by the Cannonsville Reservoir, and I was like showing Jessica, I'm just like, look at that. I'm like, you can see, I mean, it just like looks like 40, 50 feet off of the banks of where it should be, where the trees are. And you're just like, that is not freaking, like Jessica said, that's disgusting. Like, she's like, that's scary. And I'm just like, exactly. It's just really, It's really odd. And then, things, little tiny things like that. Who knows what started these two hikes? That's the big thing, is we don't know what started these two fires. What started these fires, and like it's crazy to think that some sort of little amber could float and then.
Yeah, I mean, whether it was somebody that was burning something in their backyard, or it was somebody who had a wood stove going inside, or a camper. I mean, there's a lot of potential causes for it, but
Do you think cigarettes could start this crazy of a fire?
I don't know. I mean, you would, on the one hand, you would say, yeah, sure, it seems so. On the other hand, I just scientifically, I don't know one way or the other. All I know is the leaves have been so dry in the Catskills. Everything that's fallen this year is just, loose on the forest floor, blowing around. Nothing's packed down. So, very dry conditions up there. Don't be going up and starting your jet boil to make a hot cup of tea, when you're out hiking this weekend, because if it gets knocked over, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we have a red flag warning, which started today at 6 p.m. The Hudson Valley, New York City, and Long Island. I heard it extends all the way up almost to the Adirondacks. Red flag means warm temperatures, very low humidities, and stronger winds. We've had some winds that just, I wouldn't say that are just very strong, but it just constant 10 mile per hour winds. And that's not good. It just keeps blowing and blowing. Increased risk of fire danger. So something that'll catch, it won't just, stay in your area. You can put it out with your feet. It'll just keep going and going. Now, there is also a statewide burn ban in effect until November 30th. Today is November 12th. So that's freaking 18 days away. To say in freaking November that we have a burn ban is just absolutely insane. To say that in November, a significant snowfall, like not significant, but somewhat hasn't happened. It's just absolutely insane. Like, it's just weird.
Well, this is maybe the new normal. I know our forecast down here is no rain in the forecast for the next 10 days. In the valley. I'm looking at the forecast for Denning, the same. No rain in the forecast through next Thursday. And in Tannersville, it is the same. We have, high daytime temperatures are going to be in the mid 40s up to 3 degrees on Sunday, but no rain in sight for the next 10 days or longer.
That's scary. Right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, last 4 weeks, out of the last 4 weeks, 3 of those weeks I've been stream bed hiking. And ordinarily when you do that, you spend a lot of time picking your way across the stream back and forth as you go up the mountain, because you have to do a ton of water crossings. Not now. They're dried out. Look at my photos on Instagram. There's very little water. Maybe some pools of water here and there, which is cool because you can actually see the brook trout in them, but flowing water, not really.
Trying to get some Instagram followers, I see.
Yeah, that's it. Instagram followers for me. It's the only reason I do this. 2+ hours.
One.
On Instagram. Follow me often.
So, all right. So once again, crazy times have been happening. 5,000 acre forest fire down in Sterling Forest down in New Jersey, New York area, and then the 650 acre forest fire up in the Peekamoos area. So stay away from those areas for now. Let the professionals deal with this. Keep checking out on Facebook, your social media areas for updates, because it's good to follow. The volunteers are doing all that they can. I will try to reach out to the volunteers, see what they need, especially, and we'll see what we can do. Remember we talked about the Big Tupper ski resort? Do you remember that? I
sure do. I got my bid in.
What did you put in?
I bid $650,000.
So you got it?
Yes, I did. I put all my cider money in there.
Well, hell yeah, you're a hell of a drinker.
Yeah, isn't that nuts though? Somebody bought this ski area for $650,000.
$650,000.
Yeah, and that's not to say that they're going to run it. It is a ski area.
Well, I read that that they are big lovers of the Adirondacks, and they bought the area, and they envision to reopen the area for a downhill facility for recreation. Now they're looking to partner with, I'm pretty sure it was the AMR and the Adirondack Mountain Reserve and the Adirondack Park to make this a more accessible area for people and stuff like that. 5,800 acres. It looks like the what else? Fourth parcel is a bunch of different parcels. Tupper Lake is 625. Cranberry Pond was 45, and the former marina on Tupper Lake was 170. So it wasn't the 650. So they came up with all this, and it was close to like $800,000. And they did this anonymously, but then they came out, of course, later on. They were like, "Yeah, we want to be known about this, of course." They hope that it becomes a part of private public land that leads to renovation, to reopening the ski facility. Now, the mayor said that hopefully the community has been with this because there's so much nostalgia in the area, and that they hope that this goes in the positive way, of course, because this has been banned for over 5 years. And it's definitely got an awesome cross-country skiing and golf course. It's all going to hopefully go to good faith. And we will see. I wanted to give an update on that just to see what was going on. $650,000. You being a ski expert, Tad, up in the Tupper Lake area, what do you think? Do you know about that area?
Oh, yeah. I actually, way back in the 70s and 80s, I skied there back when natural snow was in abundance and resorts didn't have to rely so heavily on man-made snow, and there wasn't a lot of the freeze-thaw cycles throughout winter. But, it's a great ski area. It's not a super big ski area, but for New York State, it's sizable, and I wish these folks all the best. It could be if they revitalize the ski area, it could be a great place to go with a family or some pals to get away from the bigger ski areas. But
what would you say, like the drop and stuff of that is
the vertical drop?
Yeah.
I don't remember offhand, but it's, maybe in the 1,500 foot range.
Not bad.
Something like that. I mean, it's certainly bigger than anything we have around here in the Catskills or elsewhere. Problem is you get up in the big Tupper area, you're just a stone's throw away from Whiteface. And Whiteface is a big mountain, has a lot of vertical, has a lot of really, really steep pitch, a lot of challenging terrain. It's a great place to ski. And because Whiteface is state-owned and operated, they've got all of the money of the state of New York behind it. So they can afford to make snow in a bad snow year and pull it off. But if you're a private ski area operator, that's really tough. In a bad year, blowing snow and trying to compete with a place like Whiteface, Gore Mountain, or, as we are going to talk about later on, how cheap airfare ended the Borscht Belt heydays. Same thing with skiing. Why would you take a week off to ski in the Northeast when the skiing conditions can be marginal, when you can hop on a plane, fly out to the Rockies, ski bigger ski areas, more natural snow, better skiing, almost guaranteed.
Wow. Yeah. So, sometimes you don't think about that. Sometimes, and that's, that we'll talk about that tonight, how that is a huge thought of like how the Borscht Belt died is that, hey, let's go over to Sweden. We have what they call this again, the Catskill Alps. And then actually we can go over the Swedish Alps. Or you can go to South Beach. You can go to Cancun, Aruba.
there's a whole bunch of other places you can go by just hopping on the plane, and you're arguably going to get better weather, certainly in the winter months. Not that the Borscht Belt was as popular in the winter months, fall and spring, as it was in the summer season, but still, once people were able to fly places cheaply, more options were open to them, and there was less and less demand in the Catskills.
Yeah, crazy times. Can't wait to talk about it. So you think, once again, you should go more local? If you could go more local, I mean, Tupper Lake is not as crazy as local to the Catskills and the Adirondacks, but if you could go local, go ahead and please do it, because that would support, of course. Now, this area you talk about, the Tupper Lake area, did this have, in the time you were skiing, what did it have to pull you up the mountain? Did you have tow ropes?
Oh, no. I don't know, maybe on like the beginner's hills and stuff like that they did, but they had chairlifts.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you.
It wasn't in the 1930s. I started skiing in 1942. Right. So
Jesus, I'm sorry. I don't. All I know is about bear petting, and they had tow ropes. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that was in the 50s, and chairlifts. I don't know when chairlifts started to be made, but it took them a few years, and somebody could set up a rope tow pretty easily. Often, you'd see, like they did at Bear Pen, you just get a couple tractors and you put bowl wheels on them, big round wheels to run the rope around. Pretty simple thing.
Yeah.
And that's what they had at Bear Pen and many other places. And then over time, they would upgrade to T-bars, J-bars, Pumas, all surface lifts, and eventually chairlifts came around.
Tad, you are so knowledgeable in the skiing. We got to do a whole skiing segment.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud to say my daughter's got a job at Mammoth Mountain, California for the ski season as a ski instructor. I'm so happy for her.
Well, let's get you two on then, and we'll talk about skiing. Is she a frequent skier of the Catskills?
Oh, back when she was growing up, yeah, we'd go to Bel Air and Plattekill, Wyndham. We were repeat offenders at Wyndham. However, I'm proud to say she's never skied at Hunter Mountain.
Proud. Why is that?
Oh, because I don't like Hunter for skiing.
Interesting. Cool. All right. No judging at all. So
yeah, well, I think Wyndham's got better terrain, especially off the eastern. I forget what they call it, but there's an eastern side of it that's got a quad lift, and it's really good skiing over there. And then Bel Air is okay. I mean, they have a longer season typically at Bel Air, but the best skiing, hands down, in the Catskills is Plattekill.
Well, yeah.
And you want to know why that is?
Because they're locally owned.
Well, in part, but the two reasons why Plattekill has the best skiing in the Catskills when they have snow is, number one, they don't make a lot of snow.
Right.
And number two, they do not have detachable lifts, which means they can't get a lot of skiers up the hill in an hour.
Oh, nice. Like Hunter?
Right? Yeah. Hunter can get, almost 2,000 up the hill on just that one lift in an hour, and Plattekill's probably hard pressed to do a few hundred in an hour. So there's less skier traffic.
Nice.
And that's what makes it, in part, it's just great terrain. It's a great ski area.
You going to teach me how to ski this year?
Yeah, if you want to, I'll take you out and I'll teach you.
Please.
I taught my daughter. She's got a job as a ski instructor now.
French fry and pizza. That's all I know.
Well, we'll move beyond that. Even somebody as uncoordinated as you, we'll teach you how to ski.
I fall down the mountain a lot when
if you like hockey, if you can play hockey, you're not far behind.
Oh, nice. So, well, good. I'm a good skater, so that's cool. All right. So we've had this in the updates kind of the past couple of weeks. So Blackhead Mountain reroute. Tad, you got a video from Ed And I've gotten a couple pictures and videos from people about this reroute, and I got to admit, it looks pretty good. I looked kind of deep into the UMP to see, and they kind of give a detailed description on what's going on. So I'm going to read that out loud, and we're going to talk about this. So this outlines a relocation of approximately 460 feet of existing trail to a new sustainable design trail approximately 1,500 feet in length. So it's going to be nearly quadruple the area. The existing section of the trail is steep and fall line, which has resulted in, of course, trail riding erosion and incision. The stone steps now have been installed along some of the steepest portions of the trail, which I've seen. It's beautiful. And they have failed before, but now they are leaving a good surface and soil part, which we know the earlier part was the rebar part that we see. And if you look closely when you go up to the Blackhead area, you can see some rebar in there, and you're kind of curious. And that was where they previously tried to install stone, and they failed miserably. Now it is much more desirable. Safety is a big concern, and they have done a fantastic job. Tad has seen videos. I've seen pictures. I'm sure he's seen pictures as well. I would say this is a fantastic reroute, and it's going to be very, very pretty, especially right now where you got, views off to the east or the south that you're going to be looking at the Devil's Path and such.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, you're not a trail guy.
Well, not a trail guy, number one, and number two. So they do it on Blackhead. And now what's next? Right? Because anywhere along the Devil's Path, this is what you have. You have these up and down the fall line, just vertical madness, straight up, straight down, and it has the same problem. Trail widening, erosion, incision in each of those areas. So now if they pull it off on Blackhead and they're patting themselves on the back because they did it on Blackhead, what's next?
Yeah. Black
Dome, Twin, Sugarloaf, why not? When do they stop? Are they going to go in? Because when you go to the Gunks and you hike in the Gunks, a lot of these trails were made, over 100 years ago. And one of the things the Smiley brothers did when they made the trails is they would bring in drills, rock drills, and blasting, and they would blast the rock away. If you look closely, you can see where they did it. So they would have switchbacks going up these steep areas. So is that what they're going to do in the Catskills? Maybe they won't do the blasting, but maybe they'll do some rock moving, boulder moving, and make these trails not steep. Well, what's the word they use? Sustainably designed trail, right?
Yes.
Maybe we're going to have these sustainably designed trails. That sounds great, but it's going to take away a lot of the fun. So where's the balance?
Right. I don't know. I'm like, when you're talking about like Sugarloaf and the Devil's Path, I don't see that many as trail widening as I did on Blackhead, because more of that as
come
rock.
On. You don't see it? You don't see it? Oh, that whole western face of Sugarloaf, it's like a mile wide in spots.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. I see that as super steep, but I don't see it as wide. It's because of the rock faces and not because of the erosion.
Yeah, but what happens is, so people will go to the left or the right to get some vegetation to grab onto, whether it's tree roots or small branches or small trees. And, if one person did it a day, that's great, and it would be arguably sustainable. But when it's a dozen to 2 dozen to 3 dozen people, Saturday and Sunday, and then throughout the week, dozens of people, how many ever people are going up and down, especially when the soil's soft and those tree roots, those young trees start getting pulled out. And then you get the trail widening. And then to some administrator with the DEC, they say, well, okay, it's time to reroute the trail, make it more sustainable. And frankly, they probably spend less money over 10, 15, 20 years when they reroute the trail than they do with annual or semi-annual maintenance programs, whatever. So is this like they're taking an inch and they'll end up getting a mile, right? They're starting off with eliminating 460 feet of fall line trail, replacing it with 1,590 feet of sustainable trail, which has got to be that whole lift in that one section, right, where the rebar was. That's all now arguably been redone. So that's changing your experience going up Blackhead. They're going to do it on the other side where Sherman's Lookout is. I've been up the other. I bushwhacked the other side. There's ways to get up it that aren't as vertical as it is on the east side.
I'm talking about Indian Head, Sherman's Lookout.
I'm talking.
That's Black Dome.
Excuse me. Yeah. So, but they're all like that. I mean, there's all of them have an easier way up than where the trail is.
True.
So is that what they're going to do now? They're going to reroute all of these, and so they're easier to get up. There's pros and cons. I mean, maybe it makes it easier, more accessible for some people, but for other people or hardcore hiking listeners, takes away some of the fun. Eventually, it'll be like hiking up Slide, up the Jeep Trail.
I mean, I hate that. It's horrible.
Right? You and your buddy, you both could be side by side, with your ear pods in or whatever they are, or Bluetooth speakers going, maybe some beach towels over your shoulder and flip-flops on as you're going to go sun yourself at the top of the mountain.
But, maybe this trail is more for like the kind of the water and stuff like that will flow off of it easier instead of widen the trail, and then people won't try to skip over these areas. We gotta see it in person first. Do not.
I am. I'm already against it.
I know
you're never going to change my mind. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm never hiking on a trail in the Catskills again. Bushwhack forever. Bushwhack or die.
Bushwhack or die. I hear you. I do understand. But hey, we'll see. I'll have to go up there and see. I know I'm going to try to get to my area this weekend. Maybe.
It's from what I've seen from recent posts on Instagram.
Yeah, screw Sean. Sean.
Yeah.
You know what? We'll talk about that in a second.
It looks like the Queen of the Catskills almost lost an eye, from what I could tell.
Yeah, from that massive blowdown. All right. So thank you to the monthly supporters, Darren White, Vicky Ferrer, Mike Salatoski, Jim Hoos, John C, Betsy A, Denise, Vanessa, Joseph, Jim C, and Michael. Thank you guys very much for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Also, thank you to our awesome sponsor of the show, Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly from Outdoor Chronicles Photography specializes in adventure elopement and adventure couple photography in the Catskills, Adirondack, and the White Mountains. She is an officiant for getting married, a licensed guide, but most important, she is a story maker. Molly won't give you photos. She'll give you memories that last forever. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Have you ever wanted to learn more about hiking or backpacking, or even just brush up on your old skills in the backcountry? Check out Trailbound Project, a hiking and backpacking school. Scott and Joe from the New Jersey Search and Rescue Team have amazing background in wilderness first aid, wilderness first responder, and the Mountain Rescue Association, and they are here to help you learn old and new skills of hiking and backpacking. They teach anything from first aid, map and compass, and many other skills that can help you and others while out on the trail. Check them out on their website and all social media platforms. So, mentions in the podcast, coffees. Let's say Betsy Anderson, thank you very much for the 5 ciders. Appreciate it. She said she had a great time listening to the winter episode and looks forward to getting some more our winter recommendations for gear. That's good. I gotta admit, we go with top-notch shit, right, Todd?
Well, you said you get all your stuff from Walmart. So.
Yeah, that's a moisture wicking shirt. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, honestly, the more money you save on gear, arguably, the more time you have to go hiking. Right? 'Cause you don't have to work as much. So
true.
Buying stuff cheap is good. I get a lot of my stuff at the Annex in New Paltz, which sells used gear, and I've actually bought quite a bunch of stuff on eBay, used. Nothing wrong with it.
A lot of people have that problem of purchasing stuff and it doesn't fit them right and it doesn't feel right, or they're not comfortable in the first couple of uses and they forget about it, and then all of a sudden they got to sell it on eBay. After the warranty.
Yeah, or they return it, right?
Yeah.
So there was that woman who was recently barred from shopping at REI or barred from returning at REI because she has an unusual number of returns.
I mean, I gotta admit, I do not like REI because Jessica had a puppy jacket and it started to leak some of the down. And then that was like, she bought it a week before their little policy was like lifetime. And then it changed over to, I forgot what it was. And they said they couldn't do the lifetime warranty or something like that. And she was just like when free, she didn't do much where if I was there, I would have been like, screw this. You guys are repaying us $350.
Also, I'm hearing is Stosh is walking around in his Walmart hiking gear and the puppy is walking around in a Poshy REI down jacket. That's what I'm hearing when you say
Hell
that.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
In the minute, like a little feather of down popped out of the jacket. The Poshy dog had to get another one.
It's an REI jacket. You gotta there's down shouldn't be coming out of that.
Yeah. This is where we now know that Stosh in his neighborhood is trying to keep up with the Joneses in terms of dog walking apparel.
She does not bushwhack like we do. I have my LL Bean bushwhack jacket, and I've bushwhacked through freaking the Dink and Cornell and stuff like that, and mine is not leaking down, but hers is after a week of use.
Yeah. Wow.
So screw REI. So mentions though, I got bashed today, or a couple days ago.
Wow.
So Scion 72, which is Sean Bacon.
Tell us about that. What happened?
He said the best thing about having a morning job in the Catskills is able to do a hike afterwards. He got able to join the Royal Highness Julie, Queen of the Catskills, to join a saunter up Thomas Cole from Barnum Road. He's always heard that it was nice, and until after Camel's Hump. Blowdown trashed. What the F? Dinner, food was at Wyndham, and Julie got strangers into a stranger's truck afterwards, and it was a good day. So apparently I have to go check out my area up on Camel's Hump to Thomas Cole. So I got some blowdown and some trash. But you know what? I want to say one thing, Sean. If you are a true steward of the Catskills, why did you not pick up that trash?
Well, you can pick up the trash, and I encourage everyone to do that. But are you allowed to pick up blowdown?
No. He said there was trash in the thing. I don't care about the blowdown. I'll take care of that. Mm-hmm. He didn't pick up the trash.
So you're trashing him about the trash.
Correct.
This is a retrash.
It's a double trash. Yeah.
A double down trash.
Yeah.
It's trash talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So screw Sean, Queen of the Catskills. Yeah. Thank you guys for alerting me. I will be up there before November 30th, which is my trail report. I will be up there and I will maintain that, and it'll be best trails in the Catskills once again. Silence. He doesn't.
Yeah. I have nothing good to say. I mean,
what's the last time you've been up there, Ted?
The last time I have been on that side of Thomas Cole has been a while. It's been at least a year. Now that I'm not gridding anymore, I don't get around like I used to, and I do love that hike, and it's on my short list to do really, really soon. But I don't know if I'll get over to Camel's Hump. I usually bushwhack up and down Thomas Cole.
Nice, yeah.
So to eliminate road walkers cycling, I just make it one big loop hike. Wyndham, Thomas Cole, start and stop at the same spot. You figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out. So I've had a lot of freaking people reach out to me about your Catskills loop. How about you get that shit going?
I will. I got to get that shit going. And when I get it going, I'm going to go to the DEC and get on their podcast and talk to them about it. I think it's a great idea. I think it's good for everyone. I think it's better than eliminating our fun vertical fall line up and down mountain climbing on the steep terrain. But that's just one person's view.
Where was it started again? I might do this for you. I could do this really quickly because I got to admit I'm good at this. Richmond Mountain, right?
Yeah, well, you make a big loop. You're going to make me pull up my...
Dude, I've had like 4 or 5 people ask about this. That's pretty significant.
I'll get to it. That's like more than all of our listeners.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you said Richmond Mountain all the way around and then back again through Bear Pen and stuff like that.
Yeah. I just have to look at the tax maps to see what is DEP property that doesn't show up on my mapping program to try to route it through as much DEP or other state property as I can to eliminate road walking. But yeah, you can get a big loop in with not so much road walking, and that most of that road walking is going to be along the western edge of the park or just outside of the park. But I think it's a great idea, and I'm going to put it together, and we're going to do this. We're going to go out. Yeah, we're going to.
You're going to do this. I ain't going to freaking do this.
We're going to declare our the sovereignty. And we're going to start eminent domain proceedings to take people's land and get easements over it. So I think now that I'm on this rant, I think part of the eminent domain is going to entail we're going to go right through the fucking middle of the Gould property, right over Double Top and Graham like we used to, back when hiking was hiking, right? And we'd hike anywhere we want. So,
Jesus.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
Jesus Christ!
Right, I'm gonna change the audio profile on my Zoom again. So
that was pretty hardcore. We're gonna call this Tad's Loop.
That was the explicit profile. I'm gonna go back to the PG-13.
All right, setting. Back to PG-13. All right. So, were you drinking anything tonight? What was you drinking?
Oh, hold on. Wait for it. It's a. Did it come through?
No, it didn't. Like the last time. That's
because you had me put on the wrong audio setting. I'm going to blame it on you. So I'm just having some San Pellegrino flavored seltzer, or sparkling water is what they call it. It's good. It's non-alcoholic because sometimes I feel bad sitting here drinking an alcoholic beverage when there's others out there who don't. So I don't want them to feel that they're left out. So.
Very nice. All right. I'm having a Down East cider donut.
Nice.
Very fall festival and stuff like that. It's very nice. So I'll put that in the show notes. So previous hikes, Tad, I have not done anything since Slide Mountain. I've had to work.
I know only two people that are thinking, when you say you haven't done anything, that includes trail maintenance.
That's correct. Actually, I will not deny that.
But if you want to do that on a weekend, give me a shout out. I'll go over and help you out. I'll show you how to get rid of blow Friday. Maybe, I don't know. I'm having a light week. Okay, so you want to hear what I did?
I'm definitely interested.
Yeah. So Warner Creek, right?
Phenomenal area.
Yeah. So Saturday morning, November 9th, I hooked up with the Danny Davis. We met up at Bread Alone in Boyceville. And it's a good meeting spot because if somebody gets there early, they can go inside, get a hot cup of joe, a bakery product, and kill some time. And when I showed up, Danny and I went over, parked his car at the Catskill Center, which is a great place to park a vehicle and carpool in to the Cats. So we drove over Silver Hollow Road to the bitter end of Silver Hollow Road. One of the many great things about hiking with Danny Davis is he has a lot of property owners who have given him permission to cross their property to get to streams. So we took advantage of that, and we hiked up Warner Creek to its headwaters at about, it was just over 3,500 feet, which I was impressed with, that you had to define.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, you had a defined riverbed going up that high. It was about 1,400 feet of gain. The river, stream, creek, whatever you want to call it, was, there was no flowing water to speak of. There were many deep pools of water that were left over. You could see brown trout swimming in them, some as large as we estimated 6 or 7 inches.
Wow.
there's one, and I'm going to post pictures of this. I haven't gotten to it yet, but there was one segment at about 2,300 feet on our way up where there was an exposed layer of mudstone along the stream bank, which is really cool. I don't know if you've run across mudstone in your hiking, but the mudstone is so soft you can literally pull it out of the mountain.
It's like, I wouldn't say it's like clay, but it's sort of.
Yeah, it's on the stone side of clay.
Yeah.
Right? So it's pretty cool. And then Danny will point out the different fossils that are in it, predominantly tree roots or other vegetation. But most of the way up, what I found interesting was there was very, very few bedrock outcroppings. It was mainly glacial till. A lot of landslides on either side of the stream going up, some older and others more recent. In terms of more recent, I mean, some were still active. But nonetheless, we made it up to the boreal forest at the top of the plateau, whacked through it. We hit the trail. We spent a whopping, 25, 30 yards on the trail. And then we headed south to Olderbark, down some ledges to get to that ridge that runs over to Olderbark. It's a relatively narrow ridge if you've never been on it. It is very, very similar in its topography and feel, including the forestry, to what you run into between Lone and Table. But I'm going to say it's narrower than that. It's longer than that. And there's a dog leg turn in it, which is pretty cool. And when you hit that dog leg is when you step into the spruce, the hemlock, the balsam firs. Yeah, I mean, it just the forest just completely changes there. And so we made our way over Olderbark. And have you ever been on Olderbark?
I have.
Have you ever? So when you came up Olderbark, which way did you come up to it?
Main Hollow? No, we went up the Beaverkill area. It was not the Beaverkill. Yeah, it was from a private property up on the Beaverkill area. Mm-hmm. It's a short approach to Olderbark instead of a longer approach.
Yeah, steep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was short. Fucking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to
steep.
say. Yeah. Rocky, slippery as heck.
Yeah. And did you go over to Little Rocky from Olderbark?
I don't think we did. No.
Yeah. Well, that's what you need to do, because I think one of the most interesting areas in the Catskills is going through the coal from Olderbark to Little Rocky, because you get everything. You get a hemlock forest. You get a huge boulder field. It's almost like a boulder maze. You get a peat bog. Then you get rock ledges heading up to Little Rocky, and then the quote-unquote summit of Little Rocky is a grassy area.
Yeah, we did. So we approached that from the Mink Hollow Road, but we parked on Sky Drive up on a private property, and they let us approach it from there, but we totally missed Little Rocky. We went straight up to Olderbark. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, and the summit of Olderbark really doesn't have much notable to it. I mean, the balsam firs are taller than what you see elsewhere. It's not like a Friday or Rocky Summit, but it's untrailed. And like I said, we made our way over to Little Rocky. But one of the things I did is we went through this bog on our way over to Little Rocky. And so afterwards, I sent out an email to our friend, Mike Kudish, who has been to that bog. And he wrote back to me that he's got it numbered as bog number 360. Was sampled in May 2002. It's 79 centimeters to till. The deeper peat sample dated to 6,270 years ago. The upper peat sample dated to 3,630 years ago. The fossils found in the peat were hemlock, red spruce, balsam fir, and yellow birch, indicating that the forest had not changed in the past 6,270 years, and probably for a lot longer than that, which is interesting that area through there, notwithstanding that area was logged, we know by the Fenwick Lumber Company nearby. I don't know if they got up that high, but that area has been logged. And according to Kudish, it's really the same species continue there to the present time. But it was a great hike. And the final thing I have on my notes is it was my first day with my new Ortovox Traverse pack. And the best part about doing that hike with that pack is it doesn't smell brand new anymore. Because it was spent the whole day getting brushed up against this, brushed up against that.
Yeah. Sticks,
twigs, and branches in it, thrown down on the moss, you name it. It now smells like a real backpack should. So,
well, good.
Yeah.
Glad you had a good time. I got to say that
fantastic.
That hike going up Older Bark Plateau is something else. If you're a true bushwhacker, that'll be I wouldn't say your high point, your high time, but it's definitely one of those times of where you're just like you're out there. And
yeah, look, we hiked, and what was my data here? I think we did 8 miles with 2,300 feet of gain. So it's not like it was a long hike, and it's not like there was a lot of climbing, but all of it was off trail other than a few yards on the Devil's Path on Plateau. But of the non-trailed summits or mountains I've been on in the Catskills that are on that 100 highest list, these two are, I'm going to say, better than most of the others. A lot of them are just kind of ho-hum. A lot of them have a lot of low-lying brush like hobble brush and prickers and other things that are just a pain in the butt to get through. But these are very hikeable. They're very enjoyable. And like I said, the one thing that is really great is that boulder field in the coal between Older Bark and Little Rocky. And then from there,
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, well, Danny was blown away by it, and there's few places in the Catskills that he hasn't been to, and this happened to be one of them. So,
wow,
it was neat getting him there, and then we got the report afterwards from Doc Kudish.
Nice,
sweet.
Yeah, I'm getting blown away by your trail reports and stuff like that. So I might as well. I'm signing off. It's just a Tad show now.
Yeah, well, you should. Yeah. Okay. All right, folks. Let's rock and roll. Stosh is signing off. Let's get down and dirty. Catskill hiking at its finest. He's left the room. Turn the lights off. And I don't know how to do any of this. I got to bring him back in.
I got to find a different day off to hike. So I have a limited amount of time to hike.
Yeah. Well, right now, Danny's days off are Saturdays, and that's my typical hiking day.
Nice.
But if you can switch, man, come on out with us. It's a lot of fun. And I'll say, on the one hand, it's really sad and unfortunate that it hasn't been raining, but on the other hand, we've had these really spectacular blue line hikes the past 4 weeks. We've done 3 of them, and they've all been really cool.
So, for the listeners, if you don't know what blue line is, it's basically you're following kind of like the part of the stream all the way to the source, and it's a magical time. Especially like I know I hate to say it, Tad, with you, like there's been this drought, but it makes it easier, it makes it cooler to see, of course, the levels of erosion and stuff like that from the streams that have caused. It's just a more phenomenal time than trying to rock hop from this side to that side. Just imagine how long your hikes would be if these areas were flowing with water. They would be so much longer. Yeah,
they would be longer, slower, more tedious, and when a lot of times you'd have to leave the water course and get on one bank or the other to make it further uphill. This way, we've been just all these hikes with very, very few instances. We've been able to stay in the stream bed and make our way uphill. And you can really see the geology that makes up these mountainsides, and it's pretty cool to see all of the erosion activities that occur as recently as at the present time. You see these active slides and bank erosion, and then you see areas that it might have been 25, 30, 50, 75 years ago that area was basically a landslide, but now it's been revegetated. But you can see just how the side of the stream cut has changed from that erosion.
Yeah. Magical.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. Awesome. Hopefully I'll be getting out actually a lot within the next week. Yeah. I have a lot planned, hopefully planned. Let's see, but I'll get out. So Catskill news, volunteer, 3,500 club, lead some hikes, stuff like that, volunteer for their trail cleanup and their trail, or the roadside cleanup. Catskill's trail crew, Matt Smith, is going to be on our episode soon about some stuff with the Catskill Trail Crew, Catskill Mountain Club, Visitors Center, Jolly Rovers Trail Crew, Bramley Mountain Fire Tower. Volunteer as much as you can, and we can see where we can get the Catskills, make it a better place. Also, if you need stickers, let me know. Free stickers, free stickers from me or the Catskills, Camp Catskill. Check them out. Weather forecast for this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Let's check it out. What we got going on. So Friday, once again, it was Tuesday, so something might change, but it doesn't look too bad. So, all right. So we're going to do a weather forecast for, let's say, Westkill. Does it sound good? Or Wittenberg. Let's check out Wittenberg. So Friday, the 15th, looking at a low of 28 at night of the PM, but a high of 43. Wind chills looking down to maybe the 30s, high 20s. Some clouds, mostly clear. So that's pretty sweet. Saturday looks like mostly clear, but a high wind of 40. So the wind chills would be going down to 30, a high of 43 with a low of 28 with the wind chill. Sunday looks pretty decent. Some clouds in the AM, a little bit cloudy in the PM. A high of 48 with a low of 27 at night with the wind chill. So once again, this is layer time. Pack your layers. Doesn't matter how much it weighs. Just do it. It's worth it. You get your tolerance. You might carry something like me, 50-liter backpack, unlike Tad, who carries like a 5-liter backpack. Hey.
Well, the new one's 30, and frankly, when I pulled it out of the box, I was like, geez, how am I going to stuff all my stuff in this? But this weekend was the shakedown hike. I don't think I had it. I definitely didn't have all of the stuff I carry with me during the winter in it, but there's plenty of room in a 30-liter pack to carry all the stuff I bring around with me in the winter that I never, ever use when I'm hiking.
True.
It's like having an REI store on my back, but it's never open.
Yeah, but you never know.
Yeah, you never do. And, it's so, I was cognizant, this weekend, one of the things is we were coming down a little rocky. It was late in the day, and we just had a few hours to sundown. And that's when, if something bad happens and you're delayed for an hour, now you're in headlight territory. And, you need those things because it gets cold fast. I mean, that's the one thing is you're out there hiking during the day and it's not so bad. And then once that sun goes down, as you just called out, I mean, you're going to have a 15-degree or greater temperature drop, and it's dropping down into the 20s. So
right.
You're going to get chilly fast.
So good. All right, so let's wrap up the sponsors, and then we'll go into the guest of the night. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right, so is it time for some new gear for hiking in the Catskills? Say no more. Camp Catskill in Tannersville has all your hiking needs. Footwear, socks, moisture-wicking shirts, freeze-dried meals, Catskill merchandise, and more. They have all the essentials for your hiking needs, located in Tannersville and online. Check out Camp Catskill. If you want free stickers, stop here. Also, if you're ready to hit the trails, make sure you take the scenic route. Our guides are here to help you with your goals, big or small. Like anything from Marcy of Slide to Lode or the Sewards. Check out Scenic Route Guiding and Gear Rentals on Instagram or Facebook for more information. Also, if you mention the podcast, you can get 10% off. Use the code word Mountain Lion. Also, embark on a transformative journey with Another Summit. Another Summit is dedicated to serving veterans and first responders with free outdoor activities. Activities like walks in nature, paddling, hiking, or even backpacking. Join our supportive community to rejuvenate in nature's embrace. Experience camaraderie, adventure, and healing at no cost. Take your next step with Another Summit and ascend to new heights of resilience and joy. Apply
All
today.
right, so let's welcome the guest of the night.
Let's go.
Tonight, Andrew Jacobs from the Borscht Belt Museum, president from the Borscht Belt Museum, is joining us tonight to talk about the Borscht Belt Times and the amazing Borscht Belt Museum. They just had a recent event down there in Ellenville that we're going to talk about tonight. So we have a lot to talk about, Andrew. This is going to be a good time.
Well, thanks for having me. Hey, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to your people.
Yeah. Borscht Belt was a huge time in Catskills history, let alone American culture history.
Mm-hmm.
So we're grateful to talk about this as many times as we can. So,
and our people, our listeners, are the best. So
yes,
we're happy. We're happy to bring this high quality content to them.
All right. Well, I'm thrilled to be the deliverer of the information. So yeah, what do you want to know about the Borscht Belt Museum?
Well, first we want to know about you. Can you give us a brief background about yourself? You can anywhere you want to go, you can go with it.
Okay. So I'm my full-time gig is I'm a reporter at the New York Times, wrote about health-related things, and my side gig is this little project called the Borscht Belt Museum, which has been in existence for about a year and a half now. The idea for it has been around for decades, but and what else can I tell you? I live up in Napanoch, which is part of a Warsing, which includes Ellenville, and I also spend a bit of time in the city, where I'm speaking to you from on 8th Avenue and 24th Street.
All right. I'm not familiar with New York City, but that's probably that's actually down lower Manhattan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so maybe I am familiar with New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. All right. How is it? How's the weather down there, by the way?
It's 47 degrees, according to my car thermometer.
Nice.
Yeah. And so that's, and so that's the quick bio. And do you want me to tell you how this sort of all came about, or what do you?
Yeah. So with being with the Borscht Belt Museum and stuff, how did this tie you into the Borscht Belt and its history and stuff?
Well, oddly, I didn't have any real Borscht Belt background. I went to the Concord ones and the Everly ones with my family when I was a kid. Grew up in Jersey. But it was only more recently that I kind of got connected to the region when I bought a house. Well, I actually used to rent a house for many years, for 30 years up in Gardner, and then got this house in Napanoch. And then at some point I did a bunch of stories about summer life in the Catskills for the Times. And one of the stories was about a bungalow colony up in Ellenville called Four Seasons Lodge, which was a bungalow colony of Holocaust survivors. And I did a tiny little story about them, and then they told me they were going to sell the place, and that was their next year was their last year. And I found these people very compelling. They were obviously been through hell, but they were really kind of a fun-loving bunch of people. Love to party, dance, dress up, just have a really good time, and despite all the trauma. And so I decided to make a movie about them the following year, and became obsessed and made a documentary called Four Seasons Lodge, about their kind of final years together. So that's how I got sort of the bug, the Borscht Belt bug, I guess. And then years later, I was asked to join the board of this effort to create a museum, an institution dedicated to this period in history that's largely forgotten or largely not really known by certainly younger people. I think those of us who are older and who are from the Northeast kind of have an idea, or when our family went or whatever, but mostly the history is not really acknowledged. I thought that was a shame, because it's a super cool time in American history, and the impacts on our culture, like our popular culture, are so vast and really interesting. And I thought that was worth highlighting. And also connecting that back to the region where we could use a little bit of cultural and economic development and promotion. And so I thought this would be let's do a brick and mortar thing. And so we did. Well, there's a board. It's not just me, but there's a whole board of other people, volunteers, and that's what we did.
So we go back in time. Let's just go back in quick in time and kind of relive what the Borscht Belt was. I mean, I've read so much about this. I've interviewed a lot of people about this. Do you know like a quick recap of the Borscht Belt? Now we know it's called, what were we called again? It was called the Jewish Alps up here.
The Jewish Alps, Solomon. There's all kinds of funny names, but the one that stuck was Borscht Belt, and that's sort of a playful riff on the Bible Belt. It was, I think it was a 30s public relations kind of a gambit where they came up, they wanted to come up with a funny name for the region, which was starting to boom then, and Borscht Belt stuck. And why Borscht? Borscht is beet soup, for those of you who don't know. They're Eastern European beet soup. Jews, there's particularly Jews love it. No, all Eastern Europeans, Ukrainians, Russians, beet soup's a big thing there, Borscht, that is. And so that's where the name came about. And then just going back, so why this place? Obviously beautiful. The Catskills have been recognized for their beauty for more than nearly 200 years. You had the Catskill River painters and all that. Anyway, lots of people from the city would come up here to escape the pestilence of New York City, the disease, tuberculosis, yellow fever. You came up to the country for your health, but starting in 1890s, 1889, a lot of Jews, a lot of Jewish immigration to the U.S., and a lot of Jews tried to go up there, but the doors were closed in their face. A lot of hotels would have signs, that said no Hebrews, Gentiles only. So what did they do? The Jews decided to create their own vacation land, and they basically converted old farms. There was a lot of dairy farms, still are some, but there were many, many dairy farms in Sullivan, Ulster, Orange, Delaware County, and they were, a lot of them weren't very productive. And it paid more to take in borders. So they started taking in these borders from the city, Jewish borders, and from there grew an entire resort industry. So that's the short version. And I should add, it's not just Jews, of course. There were all kinds of groups really marginalized, at the time. Italian Americans, Irish Americans, African Americans, Latinos all had their own sort of vacation worlds up here in the Catskills. And that's what the museum is dedicated to, sort of telling that story, and also its kind of lasting impacts on our culture.
And it's a big part in American history and American culture, like you said, it just exploded from there.
Yeah, and I left out, of course, the punchline, which is comedy. Just jumping ahead, what people do these hotels, right? There was, they were sat by the pool, they were relaxed, but they wanted to be entertained. And so there was entertainment. And what was the cheapest form of entertainment? These unemployed vaudeville writers and performers from the city who were hired to do comedy. And so this was the birth of stand-up comedy, because you could have comedians. One guy, it was inexpensive. You paid him whatever, a few bucks, and he would do an act at your hotel, and then he would go on to another hotel and do another act, and he could make a living that way during the season. And that was the birth of kind of comedy, stand-up comedy in America. And so you had this whole proving ground. We're talking about 1,000 hotels and bungalow colonies at its peak in the 50s and 60s. So you had a whole ecosystem, sort of proving ground for comedy. So a big part of what we're about is sort of telling that story, the sort of birth, evolution of stand-up comedy here in the Catskills.
So, Andrew, how is it you segued from your brief exposure to the Borscht Belt and staying at the Nevele and the Concord to wanting to kickstart the museum and kind of preserve that history via the museum?
Well, the short answer is I'm not good at saying no. So I think, yeah, I probably shouldn't have because I have a full-time job, but whatever. I ended up joining this effort. Like I said, it had been around at the time for maybe 15 years, and it hadn't worked. And so I kind of saw a way to do it that was very different than what we had been doing, which was originally build a new building, a sort of a brand new, very expensive building. And I said, maybe we should just buy an old, a semi-derelict building and just sort of fix it up. Historic building would make sense anyway. So that's what we did. We found this old bank in Ellenville. It used to be called the Home National Bank, and then the Ellenville National Bank, and then I bought that building, and that's kind of so. Yeah, so why? I don't know. I couldn't say no, and it seemed like it was a worthy thing, and then it got in over my head, and here we are. Running between work, my job and my other job. But yeah, so that's the short answer.
So, like, what can you? I mean, you talk about you've actually been experienced at the Concord and Nevele. What were your experience there? Do you remember? How old were you when you went there?
The Concord experience, I was like 8 or 7 or 8, and that was fun. There's it was winter. I skiing, ice skating, very pleasant, lovely. But the more recent one was the Nevele. I think it was 2005. Thanksgiving, in fact, my family stayed there because the house that we bought was not habitable for them, so they stayed there, and that was a kind of a sad memory because it was kind of at the tail end, and it was like a kind of a shell of its former self, and sort of little moldy odor, and yeah, it's just sad. So those are my like my two experiences.
I mean, with the massive decline that happened so quickly, the rise and the decline of it happened so quickly. I think that's what I find most phenomenal about it. It's just that it happened so quick. It was so huge, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was done.
Yeah, I still almost every day I still have that kind of moment where I'm like, how did this all? It was such a vast kind of world. I mean, we're not talking like 20, 30 hotels. We're talking, up to 1,000 places where people could stay. And how does it come to be in 40 years? I mean, let's say, 40 years really since, well, so I guess it was in the 80s, there was not many left, but there was still a bunch left. But, how did it all just vanish? And that's a really interesting, it says a lot about American tastes, and our fickleness. And, but there's other deeper reasons for, and then, kind of the easing of anti-Semitism and assimilation, cheap airfare, let people go anywhere they wanted in the world for vacation. Air conditioning. The air conditioning made it so you didn't have to leave your apartment in the city. You could stay in the city or your house in Long Island. Then it could be a pool in the backyard. Why do you need to go to the Catskills? So all these things kind of played a role.
So Andrew, we have these theories about the role of cheap airfare, air conditioning, automobile. We could even say penicillin in medical science that reduce the need for people to get out of the city. But where is it folks would go today to replicate this Borscht Belt stand-up comedy resort experience that existed in America in the 40s, 50s, and 60s? Does it exist anywhere?
I'm really thinking hard in this
country. Yeah, right? Nope.
No, it's really
good question, Ted.
I wouldn't even Las Vegas. I mean, I wouldn't even. There's comedy, there are hotels, but
you go to a place like Vegas, it's so impersonal.
So impersonal,
right? These places in the Catskills, as I understand it, they were home brewed. They were started by moms and pops, families. They couldn't make a living working the farm, and they made more money in the early years easier by taking in boarders. I mean, you didn't have to milk and tend to your boarders like you do a herd of cows. And over the course of time, it just morphed into this very rich and intense area, the Borscht Belt, and there was all these other industries that supported it, such as food supply, laundry, cleaning services, and all of that. And then it just vanishes. And what if anything was it that touched you about what you knew of the Borscht Belt that got you motivated to say yes and get involved in supporting the museum?
Well, I think I think there are a lot of valuable lessons from that era that I think younger generations should know about. Hold on, I'm trying to
No,
get into
take your time, Andrew. If you want to go and settle down, I can edit this all out.
No, I'm good. I'm good now.
Okay.
Make that loud entrance.
And Andrew's walking into his apartment right now,
Exactly.
so he's multitasking.
He is a crazy multitasking. I couldn't do this stuff.
Well, I don't know how much longer I can, frankly. But that's another podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think this was a place. This was an era really born out of bigotry, right? Like these are people who weren't allowed into their own into Gentile owned hotels, so they had to kind of create this their own place, and that was a kind of a triumph, and it had a really positive impact. So I think that kind of lesson, especially like in the moment we're in now, so much polarization and kind of intolerance, and I feel like these are valuable lessons. And and then just the sort of the creative, there's mid-century modern design, there's food, there's a whole world of culinary kind of evolution. It's super interesting that can be traced through that era. In fact, that's our exhibit at the moment at the museum. I haven't really put in a good plug yet for the museum, but Borscht Museum in Ellenville. We are currently exhibited is called in Such Small Portions, and it's all about food and comedy in the Borscht Belt resort era. But basically, going back to your question, I think that there are a lot of really important things to remember about the time.
One of them you bring up is the fact of the bigotry that was a motivating factor in the rise of the Borscht Belt and giving folks of Jewish heritage and belief a place where they felt, where they belonged and were welcomed. Do you try to convey that at the museum? Do you try to teach that aspect of the history? And if so, how do you address that?
Well, we kind of address it front and center. It's we've had two exhibits so far. And for both of them, it was kind of the first thing you learn, when you step inside, because it helps to understand, the origin story. But we don't get that into it, because I have to say, we really focus on the joy, and the positivity, not to say it's like a censoring, but it's more like the focus of the museum is very much the joy of that era. And so, but I think there is more to be done. And, I want to give a shout out to places like Peg Leg Bates Country Club I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but or if you've heard of Peg Leg Bates, who was a African-American, one-legged tap dancer, who was a huge cultural phenomenon starting in the 20s, 30s, 40s. And he had a resort or a hotel up here for Honkson. There was some other African-American resorts up here as well. And that's another story that hasn't been told. But yeah.
So I remember you talking about the Borscht Belt being big with comedy and stuff like that. Is that something you highlight at the museum, of course? Because we know, I know the big names. Muhammad Ali was down there. Seinfeld was down there. Jerry Seinfeld. Mm-hmm. Who else was down there? Mel Brooks.
Everyone. Mel Brooks, Milton Berle, Jerry Lewis, Danny Kaye, Joan Rivers. You name it. Even Adam Sandler got a start at Catskill Hotel. So in the waiting days, but every major comedian of the 20th century kind of has ties to the Borscht Belt, and that's really cool.
Yeah. So on that note, on my list, I also have Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
right? Woody Allen.
Woody Allen, yeah.
Right. So this is jumping ahead in my notes, but now that you bring up these, widely known big names in the comedy world, have any of them stepped up to the plate and made contributions?
Right. Yeah.
Museum?
We're sorry to bring that a little bit, like that's a little dark, but not really. I'm curious.
No, it's good. I'm glad you asked. No, they have not. We have an artistic advisory board with some celebrities who've allowed us to use their name, which is great. But I can't say we've got any contributions yet.
Wow.
So if you're listening, Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, well, I know
Mel
Jerry's
Brooks,
they're all frequent listeners of this podcast, and they are substantial contributors to the show. But, yeah. So, because where I grew up, Andrew, in Jamestown, I grew up outside of Jamestown, New York.
Yes, Jamestown National Comedy Center. Yeah,
precisely. And I bring up the fact that there are these famous people that cut their teeth in the Borscht Belt. And
not Lucy though. I don't think Lucy evolved.
She didn't, but she's the only one that came out of Southwestern New York. And why is it that Southwestern New York has the National Comedy Center?
Right.
But you attribute the origin of stand-up to the Borscht Belt, but that's not where the location of the National Comedy Center is. What went wrong there?
What went wrong there? I would say you had very industrious local leaders. I don't know the backstory, but I do know that it started out as Lucille Ball's childhood home, and that was a museum. And someone had the foresight to say, you know what? Let's put this flag in the ground and say, this is going to be the home of the National Comedy. And they raised a few $1 million, and they did it. And it's, I'm going up there in a few weeks. I've heard amazing things, and that's kind of what we aspire to be in terms of its stature. And it's what it does in terms of really covers the whole landscape. Ours obviously be a little bit narrower in focus, but in some ways it's sort of a satellite. Not a satellite branch, but it's just sort of a version of that, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I certainly think there's a parallel or connection between the two, and I'm surprised that these famous and very wealthy comedians who got their start in the Borscht Belt, aren't stepping up to the plate and, helping you guys get further down the road with this project. So
yeah, here's to you, freaking Mel Brooks, and I'm going to have to tag them in this. I'm going to try to tag them.
Would you please? I mean, Mel Brooks knows about us. We were hoping to have an interview with him for our archives during the pandemic, but didn't happen. But he's, we haven't given up. He's 97.
Yeah. Oh, wow. 97. No shit.
I know. So, and we, hopefully as our profile rises, as we become more visible, people like that will hear about us, and it'll pave the way, because we do have a very ambitious plan. Because like I said, the building we have is very, very, let's just say it's very raw at the moment. We don't have much in terms of facilities. We don't have heat or air conditioning. So we're trying to raise some money for that. Because
going all time to the back in the days, huh?
Yeah.
Going straight up.
To present that authentic, free, experience. But no, we need heat. We desperately, and I'm hoping to raise it this winter I'm going to spend 2 weeks in the museum with a camera on me, shivering. And if people don't pay, I'm going to just get pneumonia and die. No.
Well, Andrew, if you listen to our last episode, when we talk about winter gear, you can get the proper winter gear to survive that.
We can combine. We can do it. We'll do a whole episode. Let's do an episode live from me, teeth chattering.
So, Andrew, I'll give you a pointer though on that. When it comes to winter gear and trying to get things done inside of the Borscht Belt Museum, don't wear micro spikes inside. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. But if Stash and I were to come over to the museum on a day that it was open, what type of exhibits or attractions do you folks have there for your visitors?
So what you would see, first of all, it's a grand 1928 sort of neo-Georgian building. So you walk in, and it's a soaring double height bank gallery. So you would see you'd see our exhibit that's up now, about comedy and food, and it's a lot of very splashy graphics, like blown up photos, stretched across canvas, and then a narrative, a story, with artifacts, or we call them ephemera, items from hotels, stuff that tell the story of the rise of, from the farm to the hotel, that kind of thing. I wish I'm not doing a good job at a semi. We also have the old bank vault, in the center of the building is there, and it's a really imposing giant steel vault, as you can imagine, and it's sort of a small town bank. We've turned that into a replica of a 1977 hotel room at Kutcher's, which was a big hotel back in the day. A very green, shades of green, I would say, if you can picture this late 70s, shag carpeting on the wall, very swirling shades of green on the bedspread. And so we reproduced that, and it's a fun thing. And you go into the back of the museum. We have a 1940s bungalow interior, that's sort of all the elements you would find, from refrigerator, washing machine, furniture, and all that. So you'd find that. Am I going too fast here? Am I
Not at all.
No, you're not. No.
And then we have the back room is a little movie, a short film about the era and the museum, like a 4-minute film. And that's your quick drive. Oh, I forgot the giant bowl of borscht. We have a very large bowl of borscht in the center of the museum, that an artist, Robin Schwartzer, made for us, including a giant silver spoon sticking out of it. And people, semi-interactive, it's not supposed to be. People pick up the spoon and take pictures and all that. So that's, and the gefilte fish. There are 3 large pieces of gefilte fish on the wall, also by Robin Schwartzman. And I don't want to leave those out. So yeah, that's a quick tour. And if you go on our website, borschtmuseum.org, there are some pictures, and also follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and you can step right into the museum.
Yeah. Now, with the day, Allenville kind of was like, I would say almost kind of like the entry point into the Borscht Belt. So what other like I know the Nevele was there. And as further you go up, of course, we had the Concord and other places like that. So is there anything else we can do in Ellenville when you're in the area?
So Ellenville, in addition to Nevele, had the Falls View, and had about 200 other small hotels. Tamarack was in Ellenville. What to do today? You can tour the ruins of the Nevele. You didn't hear from me, but you can get in there and walk around. It's pretty jaw dropping. It's a whole little town, basically an abandoned town. I think at the peak it had 1,000 rooms, and enormous dining room and indoor-outdoor pools, skating rink. So you can do that. You can come to downtown Allenville, which itself is a reviving, I would say, sort of reviving the Catskill town. Had a few tough years, but we've, in addition to the museum, we've got a theater, Shadowland Stages, which is legit, a proper theater, and we have about 8 or 9 restaurants. It's a little cultural sort of magnet for the surrounding area. So those are a few things. And then, of course, the hiking is, I don't have to tell your people, right? The hiking, the gunks are right there. I mean, you can hike from downtown Ellenville to the trail that takes you up to Mohawk and Minnewaska and all that, at Sam's Point and all. Yeah. So it's really, that's a new thing that Ellenville's really pushing. I don't know if you've had people on your show talking about that, but there are not that many sort of largish towns where you can just hike, have all this amazing hiking out your door. So Ellenville's done a good job at sort of promoting that, and hope to see more in the future.
Yeah, a lot. I'm just glad a lot of this is being brought back to life, and such
Yeah.
like that. Because we reading about this in the past 5 to 10 years for me, the Borscht Belt was absolutely one of those times of where I will dig myself into this in this rabbit hole, and then I'll come out and then I'll be like, I want a little bit more of that. And it just so much keeps resurfacing, which is awesome. And it's great. And hopefully, the Borscht Belt Museum can bring back history piece by piece and make it a massive, huge exhibit, because I got to admit, there's so much there.
Yeah, I know, and that's that's what we're trying to do. We kind of see it as not just a museum about that period and nostalgia, but also kind of a cultural center. So there'll be contemporary art and events happening, movies. So it's all kinds of educational stuff for school kids. So we had this very big vision for what we want to see. When you come down today, you'll just sort of see just a little tip of that. It's almost like our proof of concept, but we wanted to build something to show people what was possible, even though we don't have heat. And, the sensible thing to do would have been buy a building, raise some money, renovate it, and then open a museum. But we kind of went ass backwards and, built the building, put a new roof on, because when we bought it, there was like Swiss cheese raining inside. And then we just opened the exhibit. We just we have a bathroom, very, basic bathroom.
That's fine. That's what it's needed. I think every place needs a bathroom. That's my favorite thing. I'm sorry.
We can all
glad we have that on the record, Stosh.
Yeah.
Sure. You know me, Dad.
I would like a proper bathrooms one day, men and women's, or just Anyway, we won't talk too much about bathrooms. But
so let's shift gears here, Andrew, and let's talk about what is the vision for this coming season when you don't have to worry about heat. The coming summer, 2025, and the next 3, 4, 5 years after that. Where do you want to see the growth of the museum?
So we just quickly, I'll tell everyone, we just had a film festival 2 weeks ago called the Borscht Belt Film Fest. Our first attempt at a film festival, and was a wonderful, smashing success. So now we're facing, because we don't have heat, we're going to have to close at some point soon. I'm trying to avoid it as long as I can, because we get good numbers of people coming in when we're open, and they pay for those tickets, and that helps our bottom line. That pays for a lot of things. So we need to stay open. So the immediate focus is going to be raising the money for heating system and some installation, and maybe some new windows. And that the goal is to do that over the next 3-4 months, and then reopen in the spring with our current exhibit, but a few little additions. But mostly then we focus on our summer festival, which is not surprisingly called the Borscht Belt Fest. Borscht Belt Fest is a street fair / comedy festival / kind of food and culture event we started 2 years ago, and that is in the last weekend of July, and super fun. We had about 36 comedians, 2 days of street fair in Ellenville, and music, theater, musical theater. It was a lot. It's a lot, and and really great. And so that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on, I guess, after we close, for the depths of the winter. We're working on.
You're going to have this film festival again next fall?
And we'll have the film festival again next fall, around the same time, which was the first weekend in November. And so, so we're, while we're building this museum, we're also trying to create, a whole kind of range of cultural events to kind of engage people and promote the culture of the museum, Ellenville, you name it. That's what we're about.
Mm-hmm. So let's go over the numbers. How many visitors in the first full year?
We had 12,000 last year.
Impressive.
Yeah, I don't know about this year. Many more, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
We were open 6 days a week until yesterday. We just went down to 4 days a week, just because things do
winter
drop
season,
off
yeah.
a bit. Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, there are fewer people who, up here in the winter. Still, there are plenty of people live here full time, as you all might happen to know, but also people come and visit. There are a lot of people who come and visit, and there's not that much to do besides beautiful, outdoorsy things like skiing and hiking. But culturally speaking, not a ton to do, and that's why we want to be year round. And
so, what does a ticket cost somebody to get into
$15 unless you're from local, and then it's $5.
Okay,
nice.
And if you're 18 or under, it's free.
Mm-hmm. So besides, go ahead, Dad. Sorry.
Yeah, and so during the summer months, what are the typical hours of operation?
12 to 5.
12 to 5.
Yeah, we're just closed on Mondays. Though probably going to expand next year, maybe open a little earlier. Turns out some people like to go to museums in the morning. Not me, but apparently it's a thing.
I mean, 9 o'clock would be pretty cool. I mean, that's the way I would see it, and then go hiking or something.
You know what? It's probably a really good day. I think in the beginning we were initially all volunteer run. So scraping together volunteers to keep it open for 5 hours a day was enough of an effort. But this year we've had some paid help, and I think if we opened, you're right, if we opened like 8 hours, maybe we'd get more people and more money. So yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, but it's tough with the volunteers and stuff like that to understand. But, sharing this, of course, is a big part of Catskill history, Catskill, tourism and stuff like that. I think it's one of the greatest times that the Catskills has been alive. They just exploded and stuff, and just the history. Let's hope, some people, like I said, Mel Gibson and Jerry Seinfeld and stuff like that, to hear this and they're just like, oh damn, maybe we should check out this place that grew us and made us into who we are today, instead of neglecting it. Yeah. Is that how I say it? I don't want to sound like a dick to that, but
listen, we'll get there. I mean, we'll get there. I think we'll get to those people. It just takes time.
Yeah. So Andrew, just a little off topic. They brought the casino in to the Monticello area in hopes of generating some economic activity that would spill over into other areas that were, devastated when the Borscht Belt industry ended. So what, if any, positive impact has the casino had, that, as far as you're aware, in the old Borscht Belt area since it opened?
I think I haven't seen any statistics from Resorts World, but I don't think it's. I think I would say it's probably been a disappointment for many people. I don't think it's obviously still a going concern because it's open, but I don't know if it's very successful. I mean, we know for the reasons we all understand. There's it came too late. There's just there's gambling everywhere, and people just don't need to drive 2 hours. You can gamble closer than going up to the Catskills.
Sure,
if you're from the city.
Yeah.
Do you folks on the board of the museum have any desire to move closer to the casino?
It's a good question.
Figuratively, or what do you mean?
Keep it away from there.
Physically, I mean, you can get some spillover, visitors from the casino. It would seem.
You know what? I would love for that too. That's that's actually a good idea. I don't. You know what? I'm writing that down because there's no reason we can't offer, Resorts World visitors.
Good point.
A coupon or something, advertise something. That is a really good idea. My part of my cynical side says most people who are coming to gamble are probably not interested in a history museum, but that's maybe not true. I should never assume anything. So I'm writing that down. Resorts World.
Not everyone who goes to Resort World is there for the gambling. Sometimes it's their partner that's into the gambling, and they're just going to be good company. And
that's a really good point.
Yeah, good point. So we won't charge you for that, Andrew.
All right, thank you.
All of our good ideas are free.
So within the last year and a half that you've had this going on, besides the heating and air conditioning and stuff. Any like awesome successes, that you want to talk about besides, hopefully getting heat in there soon and stuff like having this year round?
Yeah, the initial success is just having a building, having a home, and having so many supporters. We've had probably 500-600 people have donated money to the museum. And that's really kind of cool and heartening. Film festival, I would just say, was a success. We had the director, Ang Lee, some of you might know, who's an Oscar-winning, director, and Judd Hirsch from Taxi, he was there, and some other, sort of celebrities, and that made the film festival very special for a little town like Ellenville. And I would just say oral history. We have an oral history project. We have a booth in the museum where people can come tell their stories about their time in the Catskills, whether they worked there or they were a guest. And now we also have a remote option. You can do an oral history with us, one of our volunteers, through a platform called Their Story. You can do it on your phone or your computer, and that's really cool. We have about 100 oral histories we've collected so far. We just got a grant, that collaborative grant at Bethel Woods, the museum, the Woodstock Museum, to do some oral histories. And that's a cool success. It was a federal grant. Oh, and we got a state grant for capital construction, $650,000, which we have to match. So even though it's in there theoretically in the bank, we can't spend it until we raise it. But so that's it. Those are my quick triumph list.
Now, with I'm surprised that the state put that little into it, considering how much, the Borscht Belt has done for the state.
I think we should be eligible for more in the future. I think it's because we came out of nowhere, and we don't really have a track record. So I can see that, but I'm with you. Listen, hey, if Kathy, or should I say Governor Hochul, if you're listening to this, please, Christmas is coming.
Yes. I mean, you're right.
But Christmas is not a Jewish holiday.
We're not, but we're not a Jewish museum.
Okay.
I don't want to give the impression we are. We do, like I said, our focus is broad. I mean, yes, of course, there is an undeniable Jewishness to the story, but yeah, point taken.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, hopefully you guys are going to just keep going on and build this, of course, because, it is like a major piece in Catskill history. Anybody have read Catskill books and stuff like that, the Borscht Belt was just a massive rise. Besides the railroads and the reservoirs, I'd have to say Borscht Belt topped the list by far, with not only with people visited, with money, with growth, with expansion and stuff like that. And it's just crazy to see that. And then, of course, horribly, the decline of it. We don't see many of those hotels up today, if any. I heard about the Pine, was that the Pine Bush?
The Pines.
Yeah, the Pines just went down with a fire. And, hopefully this isn't just stupid people breaking in and doing stupid stuff.
That's what it is, I'm sure.
I guarantee. And, we have the Nevele, which I find one of the most beautiful resorts. I mean, it was cool as heck. So, anything else to add to this, Jacobs or Andrew, before we close out?
I mean, I just thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about the museum and our sort of larger project, and I hope anyone listening to this, get on down to Ellenville. We'll be open definitely through the end of November. If the weather holds, we'll stay open longer. Or if you want to come with your winter coat on, maybe we'll stay open all winter. I mean, that's an option, right? For the really intrepid, come at your own peril. But that's an idea too. But so thank you so much. And look forward to seeing everyone down at the Borscht Museum.
Yeah. So last question. We have a thing called post-hike brews and bites. Now, when you go up to Ellenville and you go to the Borscht Belt Museum, you visit a local place that you want to go after you've had a good time. What is your suggestion?
Ooh, that's a tough call. Can I give two?
Go right ahead.
Okay. The old standby, the classic in Ellenville is Cohen's Bakery. And Cohen's Bakery is actually more of a diner. It has a bakery, but it's been around since the 20s, and it's got great food and even a cooler story. The Cohen family no longer owns it, but a Mexican proprietor bought it and sort of learned all the recipes from the original Cohens and keeps them alive. And it's a really kind of cross-cultural meeting place. And then my second other top two would be the Common Good, which is a brand new bookstore, coffee place / bar in Allenville that's on catty corner from the museum, and that would be my place to kind of chill, get coffee, meet locals, and hang out. So there you have it.
What's that place called?
The Common Good.
The Common Good. Awesome.
Yeah. And I can vouch for Cohen Bakery. I've been there many times. Yeah. It's not that far of a run from the house, and I used to go over there to get my Hungarian mother-in-law.
Oh wow.
Some of their they made this bread with poppy seeds that she liked. So I would go over there and get it for her and get me out of the doghouse.
Really?
So, yeah. Well, I wouldn't be really in the doghouse, but it was a fun thing to do.
Sure. Good son, Mom.
So, Tad, you got a question for me?
No. What do you mean? I have a question for you.
What is it? What is a tumbler? What does that mean?
Oh, yeah. I did write that down. So, yeah. What is a tumbler?
I have
Stosh.
no clue.
Not that I'm bringing back Stump Stosh, but I know what a tumbler is. How about you, Andrew? You know what a tumbler is?
Well, sure do.
Tell us.
A tumbler is basically the larger hotels had a person on their staff called a tumbler who was really like the hotel jester. And he ran around the hotel telling jokes, practical jokes, physical, jumping in the pool with his clothes on, playing, ping pong with a frying pan, just running around causing chaos, and people loved it. And that was what a tumbler was. Jerry Lewis started as a tumbler. Mel Brooks started as a tumbler, because you were sort of a comedian, but like just running, unscripted, running around the hotel.
Wow.
Maybe I should be the tumbler on this show.
All right.
Tad the tumbler.
You already are.
All right.
The tummel. Yeah.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
That's tummel. Mm-hmm.
All right. So thank you, Andrew, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you taking time, especially when you're on the run and stuff, and being so focused and such like that. We hope great success for the Borscht Belt Museum, because like I said, I've always said it's a great part of Catskill Mountain history, and it's a big part of Catskill Mountain history. So thank you once again for joining us, and we hope you have a great night. And
likewise, take care.
Yeah, have a good night, man. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked.